So, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we have another amazing guest on our new Hall of Fame series, Mel. So, Mel, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
It's great to have you on. Your story is insane. It's so motivating. It's so inspiring, and your work ethic for me is something that stands out massively. So, I want to kind of get straight into it. This work
Yeah.
ethic you have, has this been something you've always had? Or is it something you've kind of developed as you start to see results and get that, I suppose, bug, something you then kind of amplified, if you will?
Yeah. I think I have always been a little bit like that throughout my life. I think if I decide that I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it 100% because I want to. If I've made that decision, I want to get to where I've decided I want to be. So I think I've always been a bit like that, but maybe over the last few years that kind of like lapsed a little bit, and like I've always worked out, but maybe not quite as hard as I did. I was approaching sort of my late 40s, weight was going on. I probably wasn't being, even though I thought I probably wasn't being as strict with my nutrition, or as I could have been, and yeah, so I probably slipped a little bit. But overall, I am sort of quite focused. Once I set my mind to something, then yeah, I'll give it 100%, and I aim to get the best results that I can.
Of course. I mean, that's one thing without question. Your work ethic is just being insane. Like, I'll set you targets, and then you just go, like, above and beyond every single one of them. It's like, oh, brilliant. Like, this helps. So, I'm curious, 'cause I know you mentioned, we've been good with nutrition and sometimes off like prior to joining. What made you join the team? And I know, right? But for those listening, what made you join the team?
I think, like I said, I'd sort of reached my sort of my late 40s, 50 was approaching. I think I just took a sort of look at myself and just thought, this isn't where I want to be. Things are not, I'm not in the best shape that I know I could be. Even though, like I said, I never stopped working out. But I think you don't realise that you're not working out maybe to your full potential. Like you're not. Like I wasn't really pushing myself in my workouts, and as I said, I wasn't really being like. I wasn't watching what I was eating as much as I had done in years before. And I think when you get to this age, sort of like your late 40s, 50s approaching, menopause is coming up and things start to change, and you try and be like the way you were before, and that doesn't work. You have to start changing things and adjusting things. And I think both my daughters joined the plan. They both had journeys to go on, different journeys, but they both got to where they wanted to be, and I saw how motivated it made them, and how good they were looking, and I just thought, you know what, maybe this is for me. At first I thought, oh, maybe I'm too old, I don't know, like that self-doubt creeps in, but then I thought, no, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to join up. I've seen them do really well. I've seen them, they're happier, fitter, looking good. And I thought, no, I'm going to give it a go.
I'm going to get in on some of that. I love it. That's amazing because Chloe and Georgia have both absolutely crushed their transformation journeys. And I'm so proud of both of them. And for you to come in as well and just hit the ground running at 100 miles an hour. And I don't know if it's like maybe a family thing when the work ethic's so high, but the results, although you have a plan to follow, it still takes hard work, right? Like you can only lead a horse to water.
Yeah.
So it's a massive credit to you and your work ethic, obviously what you've achieved. So when you was kind of approaching this menopause period, because I know there's a lot of women watching this thinking, right, I'm peri or in menopause, and I don't have the self-belief to feel like I can do this. My hormones imbalanced, and I feel like I've just hit this brick wall and I can't overcome it. What made you go from lacking self-belief to biting the bullet? Because I know obviously you saw Georgia and Chloe, but I know you also touched on the fact that, do I feel like coming in towards this menopause period, do I feel like it's actually possible for me if they're younger? What made you bite the bullet and go, do you know what? I went from self-doubt, but I'm going to give it a go anyway.
I think just like I got a couple of comments, like when I said, I'm really not happy with my weight, I'm not happy with how I'm looking, I know I can be fitter, I don't want to be like this, I had a couple of comments. A couple of people said to me, maybe this is just what, no, maybe this is just who you are now. Maybe this is just how it is now for you. And that really, really, like, when someone says something like that to me, it just pushes me like the complete other way. I was like, absolutely not. You know, this is not who I am. This is not where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And that just sort of really made me determined to push forward and do something about it. Because I think the menopause happens, or perimenopause, you come into perimenopause and things do change. But ultimately, what I realise is that ultimately I am controlling that. Yes, my body's changing, and yes, I can't maybe eat the way I did before, or, you know, I have to work a bit harder, but it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means that I have to control what happens, and if I want to change it, then that it can be changed. You know, I wasn't going to just accept that, well, this is what happens when you get to 50. You know, I wasn't going to be that person. So I just thought, you know, no, I can do it, and I will do it.
100%. And something that I think is really powerful is you literally just said that. And a couple of weeks ago, you went to your 50th birthday party, you wore a dress. Run us through the moment, because I know you posted into our community group as well.
Yeah.
And spoke about how amazing you felt in this dress. So, like, if you could almost rewind to start date, right? Back in February, where obviously the party was in June, right? So if you could rewind to that moment and go, this is how you're going to feel in June at your birthday party, what would you have told that person?
I'm not sure that I would have believed that I would have got that far by June. I always I had an idea of what I wanted to achieve. I don't think I thought that I would get to that point. I mean, I'm not completely there yet, but I don't think I thought I would get to the point that I was at on my birthday that soon. So I think back then, if you'd said to me that's where you'd be, I would have been like, maybe, we'll see. And in the back of my mind, I would have been like, okay, you might get halfway there. You know, I didn't think that I would get to that point by my birthday.
Absolutely. So what is that point for those listening? How did you feel in that dress and at your birthday around, you know, friends and family? What was that feeling for those who maybe haven't seen your transformation, or maybe just can't quite picture it? What was that feeling like?
It was like such a good feeling. It's almost like difficult to explain how you feel like inside. Like prior to joining, if someone had put that dress in front of me and said like, you're going to wear this, I would have just been like, absolutely no way. I've got lumps and bumps in the wrong places. That dress is completely unforgiving. You know, you have to be in really, really good shape to wear that, and I would have just absolutely dismissed the idea. But inside, I would have been really wanting to be able to wear it. So to actually get to that point, like on my day of my party, I just felt so amazing for myself. Not so I could go, oh, look at me, you know, I look amazing. Just how I felt inside for me. I had so much more confidence. I just felt great, and I didn't feel 50. I think that's the really sort of amazing thing. You think you're going to feel old, you get to 50, you think you're old and achy, and I just felt like, I mean, I was on that dance floor more than anybody else, I think. You know, like my kids were like, oh, I'm going to have a rest now, and I just felt like I could just go on all night. I felt full of energy, really great. I felt confident, and it just meant so much to have got to that point.
That's so it's giving me goosebumps. That's really, really powerful. And I think, you know, what I suppose the dress represented, it isn't, you know, look at me. It's like, fuck it, this represents for me, if I work my bloody socks off, feel great, I've prioritized myself and my health so I can give that to family more and so forth. And I think that's really, really powerful. And you touched on something there that's, I think, is quite a good little segue into a slightly different topic too. Like, the obvious thing is you look amazing, right? In the dress and just like everyday gym wear, just feeling it within yourself, right? But you touch on energy. And I think this is a really overlooked thing as well. On like a day-to-day basis, how do you feel from an energy perspective in comparison to maybe back in February?
I just feel like I have much more of it. Like I mean, I've got a busy life. I've got 5 kids, 4 of who live at home, a little grandson as well. I run my own business, and I've got a little second job as well. So I'm on the go all the time. And I was feeling tired. I was feeling sort of, back before I started, I was feeling tired, didn't really have that get up and go, didn't have the energy. Whereas now, I just feel like always ready, to tackle. I mean, don't get me wrong, if I have a really late night, then I'm going to be tired. But in general, I just feel like I'm always ready to tackle whatever that day is. I get my workouts in, always try and sort of get up and get them done in the morning, because I just feel so ready for my day. By the time I sit down at my desk at 9 o'clock, I'm just awake, ready, feeling great, and just so much more energy and enthusiasm for life in general, and the day-to-day humdrum of life, just so much more enthusiasm for it now.
Of course, absolutely. And do you feel like that's almost had a knock-on effect to, I suppose, career, family? Because I know you mentioned, obviously, you got a lot going on, the kids, grandkids, but also like when you're looking at it from a perspective of business and job, like it's not easy, right? Like I can completely understand that, right? So do you almost feel like this extra energy and this extra confidence has allowed you to, I suppose, progress more in career, and I suppose almost that internal fulfillment as well?
Yeah, I think so, because I think if you feel good in yourself, then that is going to reflect and have a knock-on effect. If you're miserable, if you're not feeling great about yourself, and you're feeling sluggish, you've got no energy, that definitely, I think, affects your general day-to-day life in what you want to do, how you do it, and what you can achieve. And I think that if you feel good about yourself and you've got the energy and you've got the motivation, if you've got motivation, I believe if you've got motivation in life for anything, then you can achieve whatever it is you need to achieve, because whether that be something in work, whether that's with your workouts, hitting PBs, or, family stuff, I think that if you've got that drive and that motivation, then you can definitely achieve it. And I think working out and, running and everything for me really helps me with that, because it just makes me feel so much better. And I'm happier as a person as well. I think my kids will be the first ones to tell you that I'm not as grumpy anymore. I feel a lot happier in myself as well.
That's so powerful. And I think one thing that's really, really important there as well is like, there's so many people watching this that may not have that self-belief, right? And as you touched on for yourself before as well. And I think, like you say, if you just have that little spark of motivation, and that, I suppose, understanding that you can achieve anything, because it's so easy to go, oh, it's easy for you to say because you're in great shape now. It's like, okay, but rewind. I felt the same way, right? And I know it's quote unquote, it might be easy for me to say because I do this every day, right? But there's times where I've had massive self-doubt, especially like in COVID. Like I got out of shape massively because I prioritized my career over my body. And I was rushed to A&E because I had burnout so bad, and I had felt a bit of a pot belly. For me, I didn't feel great. So like, I had that moment where I was like, am I going to be able to pull this back? Or, is it just a bit too good to be true, right? But I think that's really important what you just said for those listening. Like, you really can do anything. Like, absolutely anything, right?
Definitely. And I think as well, I think I mentioned this in the chat, the group chat as well. You sometimes don't realise how much you're achieving or how far you've come, and it's not until you look back and you realise, like when I first started, there were some like exercises that I just couldn't do, and I just thought that's just impossible. I'm never going to, like the hanging leg raise that I mentioned, I tried that the first time, and I just thought, I literally failed miserably, and I thought that is just so far out of my what I can achieve. And I honestly thought I would never be able to do that. I really thought it was so hard. And then, 5 months later, I'm doing 3 sets of 8, and I'm almost getting my feet at the top of the bar. And I look at it and think, I can't, how has that happened? So I think for anybody that feels like they're never going to get there, definitely, just put those thoughts at the back of your mind, because each day that we turn up and we do this, we're making progress, and it's slow and gradual, but it's definitely happening, and you look back and you realise how far you've come.
100%. And it's these small little compounding wins, right? Going from three sets of 8 now, but it might have been, right, I've just done 1 rep. Wow. I've just
Yeah.
done 2 reps. Brilliant. And all you do is you stack these on top of each other. And
Mm.
it's so often that people look at the entire mountain, they'll look right at the peak of it and go, oh, it's just too far away for me. It's just too far away. And people always look at the bigger goal as, I need to be there now, right? Whereas all you need
Yeah.
to do is just put one foot in front of the other. It's like, you might not be able to see the top of the mountain, but can you see your next step? Brilliant, just take that one. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And it's a saying that I love is, let's say someone wants to drop 50 pounds, just an easy way to put it. The goal isn't to drop 50 pounds, it's to drop 1 pound 50 times. Because all of a sudden, 1 pound doesn't seem so daunting. So those small compounding wins you just mentioned, like every day chipping away, doing it over and over again, you don't realize until you look back and go, oh my God, these little things have added up. I'm on
Yeah.
the dance floor all night long feeling amazing. Or I'm doing leg raises and I've just done my 3rd set of 8. Like, you don't even and they're the best ones, right? The ones you don't realize, the
Yeah.
spontaneous wins.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For those listening, that's why you want to track your workouts as well, right? Because if you have different metrics to give you motivation on progress, like your normal stuff, your scales and progress photos and so forth, but also tracking your workouts, those little PBs that keep you going throughout the week, or trying on a t-shirt and going, oh wow, this fits a little bit better than it did before. That's amazing. And these small little things that add on top of each other, all of a sudden you've got a full-blown transformation, you feel on top of the world, right?
Definitely, definitely, definitely. And I think that when it is gradual, you don't, like, I had a whole wardrobe of clothes. I'm sure there's so many women like this that have like this wardrobe of clothes, and there's some that they just haven't even tried on in ages, because they don't fit you. You think to yourself, I'll throw them away, and then you're like, no, maybe I might get into them one day, and then you're like, and then they just stay there at the back of the wardrobe or in your drawer, and you don't go there. And then and I was like that. I had like all these clothes that I hadn't worn for ages. I knew they didn't fit me. It just made me miserable if I tried them on and couldn't get them done up or whatever. And then a few weeks ago, I decided to just get them all out and try them all on. And the feeling when I realised, oh my goodness, I've just done these trousers up. Oh my goodness, these ones are too big. Oh my, it's everything I tried on that I hadn't been able to fit into for so long was all just going on so easy. And again, the feeling that you get from that is so good. So good.
It's just so powerful, because I suppose it's almost unexpected. And again, it's that unexpected when you go, oh my God, wow, these are too big. One,
Yeah.
I probably think you are, so you just made me have to go buy new jeans. But like we say, the warning, the only bad thing is you might need to buy a new wardrobe, right? But in the long run, it gives you an excuse to go for a little shopping haul. But no, that's so powerful. So for those listening, and I know I'll probably put you on a spot a little bit here, so take the time. For those listening, what would your advice be? Let's say more specifically for those who are in a similar position to where you was in February. Probably have, rightfully so, a couple of good excuses, right? In and around menopause, busy lifestyle, business, work, children, grandchildren. For those people who are in a somewhat similar boat to you, what's your advice specifically for them?
I think I think one of the biggest things that people say is, I don't have the time. I really don't want to be where I am, but I don't have the time to go to the gym. I don't have the time to work out. I don't have the time to go running. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest lies that you tell yourself, because we all have the time. You just have to make it. And I think, my life is really, really busy, but you just have to want something bad enough, and then you make the time. And I think that's my advice that I can give to anyone that is sort of where I was, struggling, thinking I can't do this, I've got work, I've got this, I've got kids. Just take some time for yourself, get up a little bit earlier, do some meal prepping, and then use that hour that you've made yourself up to do a workout. If you can't get to the gym, go for a run, or just start with a little home workout. I mean, I started off just, years ago, just doing Davina records DVDs, and then gradually as I got more serious and, progressed, and now I've built a nice little home gym. I'm not a lover of going to the gym. I don't like doing things in front of people. I'm just not a big I'm not big on that. But I found a workaround. I said, right, we're not using the garage. The car never goes in it. We're going to make a gym. We're going to get some equipment.
Absolutely.
And I did. And I just think that's my biggest piece of advice. I think is too many people think they haven't got the time. You just need to dig deep. You've definitely got the time. You just need to make it. Just look at your day and make a space somewhere. Whether that, like I said, get up a bit earlier, meal prep, use that time, whatever it is, when your little kids, when they're asleep, and just do it, because you will feel so much better when you're on that journey. And I think once you start, you will just naturally carry on, because it only takes a few weeks, and then you start to feel better, you start to notice the little changes, and then suddenly that time that you didn't think you had is there, and you've made it, and you're doing it, and it's just all easier from there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two huge nuggets you had in there that I want to highlight, because you've literally hit the nail on the head. Number one is you don't find time, you make it, right? Because I'm sure everyone's to-do list, you could always nick another little thing at the bottom, or right, this one's never going to end. Instead of finding the time, you've got to make it. It's not like it's something negotiable. It is your health, right? It is your well-being. It is your happiness and confidence. It's something that should be prioritized for everyone. It's your livelihood, right? So instead of finding the time, you're right, you have to make it. And I actually done a little bit of a presentation at our recent client event, and it was 168 M&Ms on a table. It's this massive pile of M&Ms. I took away 3 and put them into a separate pile, and I said, these little 3 M&Ms here, in comparison to the other 165, represent the 3 hours of the week that you might need to work out. And if you look at the time difference between what you have and what you need to use to work out, it's insane. And the amount of people was like, oh yeah, well, maybe I don't actually have an excuse now. It was it was mind-blowing. And the second nugget you had there that was amazing is, after a couple of weeks, it almost just becomes your identity or your routine, or it just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
But what you was worried about from a time perspective is you kind of just do these things naturally, small things, water. You just naturally drink more. You don't think about it. Or training, at Tuesday at 12 o'clock is usually the time you might go to the gym. It just becomes part of your day. And at that point, it's not overwhelming. It's not boring. It's just part of your day, right? Do you find that's been a big help for you?
Yeah, definitely. And it really does become part of your day, and particularly and it becomes routine, like you said with the water. That was one of my biggest worries when I joined up is, God, I'm never going to be able to drink 3 to 4 litres of water a day, because typically my whole life I've never really drunk water. I drink too much tea probably, but even when I was younger, I just never really drunk. I'd get to the end of the day and I'd be like, God, I've had 1 drink, or I've not had anything to drink today. And I just typically was like that, and I just didn't like water, didn't like the taste of water, and I really worried about how am I going to manage this. But you just do. I think I said, right, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I want to get on this plan. I have to drink this water, so I'm going to make it work. So I cut fruit up and just put fruit in my water bottle just to give it a bit of natural flavour. And I just bought one of those bottles that you sip, through the straw. Yeah. And I just sort of right, okay, I'll have my morning cup of tea, and then I'm going to cut out the mid-morning one and the lunchtime one, and I'm going to just drink my water instead. And it just became a habit. And now, 5 months later, if I haven't drunk that much water, by about 5-6 o'clock, I'm going, God, I'm really thirsty. I feel my mouth so dry. It's crazy how your body just changes, and you adapt to these things and become used to them. And if I don't drink enough, I'm really I really notice it by sort of early evening that I've not drunk all my water. But yeah, you just the changes. initially you have to make them. You have to be determined. You've got to have that willpower, and you've got to say to yourself, I want to do this, so this is what I need to do to make that happen. But then it just becomes part of your life, and you wonder how you never did it before. You know, it really just does become part of you.
100%. And when you book, like you literally just hit nail on the head again. When you become this new person, you do wonder, how the hell did I ever live without feeling like this? Like, how did I do it before? I feel so great now. Like, the scariest part of a transformation is like, oh, I never want to go backwards. But when you learn so much and when it becomes such a habit and you go, I've got the education, like, here's a good question. And obviously we haven't actually spoke about this at all, so I want you to be completely honest. Do you feel like you have the tools to keep your result for life?
Yes, I do. I do feel like that, and I was thinking about that earlier today, actually, because we had our chat about, where am I going to go from here, whether I continue, go on my own, try and maintain or whatever. And I just realised that I do feel like I have the tools now, and I feel like I will never, personally, I feel like I will never go backwards now to that, because I've learned a new way of life. I have these tools. I know what I'm doing, and one, I don't want to go backwards, and two, these are new behaviours and they're learnt behaviours, and I know now. I've learnt about progressive overload. I realised before, even though I was working out and I was lifting weights, I wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't trying to lift heavier weights. I was just lifting the weights that I thought I was comfortable with. So I was just staying at that level, and now I'm lifting so much heavier weights that crazy. For me, personally for me, I mean, I never set myself against other people, because there are different people at different levels and lift different weights. But for me, the weight that I'm lifting is something I never thought was achievable, but now it's normal. And I've learned that. I've learned through the program to push myself, when to push myself, and I've learned about nutrition so much. I've learned to eat my meals. I've learned to eat better. I've learned to sort of space my meals out, rather than going all morning without eating anything and then being starving and then reaching for something that's not great because I haven't, properly prepared, or I haven't eaten properly. So I feel like I've definitely got the tools. I feel like I've learned so much. It's been so valuable to me to set me up for the future. When I eventually do sort of finish and carry on my own, I definitely feel like I've got the tools to continue on the journey, because I always say this journey is sort of everlasting. It's not, I never went into it going, right, it's 6 months long, this is the start, this is the finish. I think that we never finish our journeys. It's a constant road, and I think sometimes we might sort of pull over and we might step off for a bit, but it's a constant journey. We're constantly on that road. And yeah, I 100% feel like I've got the tools to continue. Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head again there when you went, it's a constant journey, but every now and again you just pull over. And we had a call a couple of days ago and we spoke about your holiday coming up. You're away for 2 weeks, and at first she was like, we said, God, I'm a bit worried. Like, I've done so well, I don't want to go backwards. And I remember the conversation we had. It's like, don't worry about it. All you're going to do is you're going to pull over on the side of the road, right? All you're going to do is you're going to maintain for 2 weeks. I personally think you're going to end up progressing. You're going to blow your own mind. But at the worst case scenario is you maintain for 2 weeks. You have an amazing time on holiday. You make loads of memories. You don't feel no guilt or pressure. You just go completely scot-free. Just have a good time. Then you come back and you carry on and pick up where you left off. That's where the long-term result comes from, when you allow yourself to enjoy downtime and enjoy holidays and family time, and just know how to control it. Like, when you go away, okay, I'm going to pick high-protein options on my meals. I'm going to try in the morning, because come the afternoon, sun's on my back, I'm going to be tired and sunbathing. I'm probably not going to do much then. So maybe in the morning, let me try and get an extra walk in. Let me just give myself a little bit of a head start of activity, right? Like, these small little things that you've learned just means when you do go on holiday, you have a great time, you stay on track, you come back, pick up where you left off, right? And I'm so glad we got the tools as well, because I still remember the first call, and what we always say is, by the time, obviously, our 5-phase methodology, from design and dominate to building everything out, the recomp phase where we, get into amazing shape, customization. So if you go on holiday, changing the programs around the home gym, the hotel gym, for instance, then that body sprint phase, because we touched on the idea of a photo shoot. So the body sprint phase will be coming in pre-photo shoot. And then reward, which is the transformation of a lifetime, but for a lifetime. And I really think you're the perfect example of that, of keeping the result for life. And it's a huge credit to you, because, like I say, you haven't just hit cruise control. You've gone, right, these are my targets, but I'm not settling. I'm going for it. And I think that's really inspirational for you to show, not just people, like we say, that might be approaching their 50th birthday, but showing anyone, everyone, because work ethic is work ethic, and it's really inspirational. So from my end, a huge, I suppose the word is congratulations, but I'm also very proud of how hard you've worked and how much you've achieved, because I know you're very active in our community group as well, and I don't think you quite realize how much your journey is and has impacted other people when they watch you in amazing shape, probably from a closer proximity with family, but also in the community group, and they go, wow, like, she posted that, and that's really inspired me. Like, I need to get up and get something done. Or when you comment on somebody else's win and you go, well done, they think, oh wow, like I feel like a bit G'd up. Like, it's nice to hear. So a huge thank you for being a massive contributor to the group, but also just for crushing the journey and trusting everything and going all in.
Oh, I think it's really important. I think like groups like that are really important because when you join something like this, an online coach, obviously you're doing it from, you're not going anywhere. You're at home and it's all, you're online. So I think to have a community where you can just, when I first joined and the school community came on, and I thought, well, will I post in it? Won't I post in it? And then I thought, no, do you know what? If you don't do it, then if everybody had that mindset, of not wanting to post in there, then nobody would, and we wouldn't have that inspiration, and we wouldn't, I see posts in there from people, Ben, for example. I mean, his transformation, amazing, and he's so focused, and he posts a lot in there, and I read all his posts, and I just think, wow. And I look at his PBs every week and where he gets in the competitions, and I just think, this man is Superman. He literally has done so well, and it's great. I think it's really, really good to see other people and how they're getting on, and I think that if anything that I post helps somebody else, then that can only be a good thing. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I don't think you realize just how many people you have impacted. So obviously, your journey's for you, and it's for you and your family, but something you should be aware of is actually just how much your journey has impacted those around you. So that's something that you should be able to look in the mirror and go, do you know what? I've really smashed my journey, but inspired others. So Mel, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I think that was so inspiring, and I think anyone watching is going to go away with an absolute battery in their back. So thank you so much for joining. And
thank you for having me.
Any final words of wisdom for anyone listening?
I just think believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself. Anything's possible, and I think if you've got that self-belief, it doesn't matter how long it takes you. If it takes you sort of 6 months, a year, 2 years, or how long you've got to go on your journey, just keep believing in yourself, and it will happen.
Could not agree more. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see everybody in the next episode of the podcast. Take care.
Thank you.